And welcome back. This is, I guess, part 3 of me trying to save my Kona guitar. As you can see, I took the strings off it and removed the pins. But as you can see here, the pick still does slide underneath this bridge in multiple spots. So it's definitely something that needs to be re-glued down. Now, I'm going to very quickly, with a towel, just give this a wipe down just to get some of the dust away. I'm going to also remove this saddle. As you can see, the saddle is just shot and needs to be replaced. So I'm going to remove that saddle. But I was thinking, and maybe if you can think of a better way to do this, please let me know. But I'm going to use, I have here somewhere, some Tight Bond glue. So I'm going to use Tight Bond glue to glue down this saddle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some 220 grit sandpaper, which I have here. I'm going to slide the sandpaper underneath the saddle to sand that, to rough it up a little bit. And I'm going to use tape and mask off the body and then sand underneath the saddle on the body as well. That way I get sanding on the body and sanding on the underside of the saddle. And when I apply the wood glue, it should be hopefully a stronger bond. I went to Harbor Freight, and for $8, I bought this clamp. So that should be able to get under the guitar and clamp the saddle down to the body. Now what I also think I'm going to do, I have this piece of MDF. I might try to get a thinner piece, but I have this piece of MDF. I might put this piece of MDF under the body, like that, when I clamp it. The thinking is that the clamp might break through this laminate body very easily, or crack it, or weaken it somehow, and I don't want to have that happen. So what I'm going to do is, when I clamp this, I'm going to clamp it to this MDF, which will give it a little bit more integrity and support it from the bottom when I'm clamping directly from the top down. Does that make sense? So I'll show you what that looks like when it's all clamped up. But for step by step, I'm going to walk you through taping off the guitar, sanding the saddle, sanding the body, and then applying the clamp. And then I'll show you, we'll finish the video with how that looks when it's all said and done, okay? I'm gonna just hit pause for now, and I'll show you what this looks like when it's all taped up. Thanks. Okay, so I used some painter's tape to mask off the bridge plate, and what I'm going to do is use this 220 grit sandpaper and sand upwards on the bridge plate, and then I'm going to turn it over the other way and sand the body of the guitar. Okay, so it's just basically just running this through the sand. But as you can see, I just want to clear out all the dried glue that might have caked in there. I also want to rough up the finish on the body of the guitar because I want it to make a good glue, make a good bond from the tail plate to the from the bridge plate to the body of the guitar. So it doesn't take, I don't think it's going to take much. I think it just needs to be kind of scored up. And you can see here, flakes of glue have already kind of peeled away from the guitar. So it's good, I think it's good to get that out of there. And there's so much that needs to be glued down. So I'm just going to, hopefully this whole thing doesn't come off and I have to reapply it from scratch. If that's the case, then that's the case. But I'm just going to maybe do a light sanding on this. And glue it with some Tight Bond. And what I think I'm going to do is add maybe a drop of water to the Tight Bond just to make it a little bit thinner. I think Tight Bond is a water-based glue anyway, so I can put some water in safely. And I want to make the glue a little bit thinner so that it can get in there deeper and make sure that it gets in there deep enough to where it can have a good full get good full glue in there and get good adhesion. You know, after it's glued under pressure for 24 hours, I think it'll be a good bond. So that's kind of the goal here. But right now, it's hard to do it with one hand and hold the phone. But I'm just basically sanding this to make sure that I get a good sanded and relatively rough edge to glue down. And I'll flip this over the other way and do the body of the guitar as well. So that's kind of my goal for now. I'm going to hit stop so I can just work on this with two hands, but I'm gonna just do this with a little more detail and get this done, and then we'll get over to where I can clamp it. Okay, welcome back. And I changed my mind about using the C-clamp on this guitar for two reasons. The main reason is because the gap is not only in this corner as I originally thought, so the C-clamp could clamp right to this spot and clamp that down, but I need to put pressure here and here to get this whole back plate to sit down. So I sanded everything underneath on the body and on the bridge plate, but now I need to put pressure both here and here to get this to stay down, okay? So it's sanded, it's ready to go. So I'll show you what I'm gonna do next. Part of my challenge in doing this, or part of my goal, is to not buy a bunch of tools. I don't wanna spend $200 worth of tools to fix a $100 guitar. I wanna use what I have around the house and try to fix this to the best of my ability, and that way maybe the average person out there could do the same. So I have two Pepsi caps here. Actually it's Coke Zero. But what I'm gonna do is I got water in this one and I have Tight Bond in this one. So I'm gonna take a little bit of Tight Bond and mix it with some water, and I'm going to thin this down a little bit so I can get it inside underneath the bridge plate and underneath the, in between the bridge plate and the body better. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to put some pressure on here to hold it down. Okay, so now I have this glue mixed and it's thinner. Hopefully it'll slide in there better. I have a paintbrush that I stole from my daughter's art set, and I'm just going to try to get glue underneath this plate. I was able to sand up to, when I was underneath that bridge plate sanding, I was able to sand all the way up to where the holes are for the strings. So this bridge plate was pretty much ready to go. It was not going to last a whole lot longer. Hopefully with this now I can get good glue in there, glue it under pressure, and tomorrow we'll see if we have something better here to work with. Okay, but I'm just now trying to just get as much glue under there as I can. I think what I'm gonna do is, I think I made this a little too wet. So I'm gonna try to use a little more glue than this. But this glue should dry and it should become good to go. But I'm going to use a little bit thicker. Just to make sure. In all the videos I've seen, you watch YouTube, you learn a lot, but in all the videos I've seen, all the guitar makers use hide glue, which I don't have, or Tight Bond. They like them both because apparently you can heat those up and remove the glue, or take off the piece under heat, so you can always kind of back out what you did later on. So that makes sense to me, rather than using like CA glue or some type of bond that's more permanent. They like to use something that down the road, if they had to, they could change out. And I don't know, to me that seems like a sound way to approach this. So I got this glued up. Now, instead of clamping it, I'll show you what I'm gonna do. I knew that when my sister bought me this weight set, that if I held on to it long enough, it would come in handy. And so I have a 20-pound barbell here. I have a 20-pound barbell here, and I have 25, 30, and 45-pound weights here. So I'm going to set a dumbbell on top of this to apply pressure to hold this down overnight. So I'll just put this here to kind of protect it, and I'm going to throw 25 pounds on this. And we'll know tomorrow if it worked. We'll know tomorrow if I just made some firewood or some stuff to put in my, something to put in my fire pit. Maybe I just made some fire pit wood here, but oh yeah, I see good squeeze out, so that's a good sign. I'm not hearing any cracking, so that's good too. I do see some squeeze out there. So that's 25 pounds. I'm gonna throw a 30-pound weight on there just to make sure that the bridge plate touches all the way down. I have a 45, but that might be, I don't want it to bust through the guitar, you know? I'm gonna throw 30s on there and see how that works. Anyway, this is probably a crazy method, a crazy way about going about doing it, but this is how I'm doing it. And I'm not hearing the guitar crack or creak or anything like that. So one thing I did do, you saw me put the tissue paper there not the tissue paper, the paper towel to protect the bridge plate a little bit. But another thing that I did was I propped up the guitar here on the table. I'm on my pool table. And the reason I did that is because the, you see there, the guitar strap is there, but the other guitar strap is on the bottom here. And that was not allowing the guitar to sit flat against the pool table. And I wanted it to be a flat bottom so that when I applied pressure, it would take it. It would resist against the pressure and apply upward support. So I have this guitar up on that plate, which allows the body to sit flat, and it allows the glue, allows the weights up here to do their job. At least that's the idea behind it. So I'm gonna let this sit overnight. Again, I am seeing squeeze out there, so I hope it's working. Feels like it's working. Tomorrow I'll have to remove the paper, clean it up, maybe do some light sanding if any kind of that paper caught on and glued in. I don't think it will, but we'll see. And we'll see if I watered the glue down too much and it's not holding. There's a couple things going on. But by tomorrow afternoon, I should know how this is looking. Okay, so long for now. Thanks for watching. We'll pick things up tomorrow after this glue sets up. Thanks.